shows unnecessary concern. I have said before, and I'm glad to say that I thank God we have a president who has the courage and determination to understand and face the issue of communist aggression, at the same time has the wisdom to recognize the limits to which this conflict should be kept.
Then do our best hopes for peace now lie in
I think the President stated his position very clearly, that this is an attempt to interdict the traffic south and to make it difficult for North Vietnam to resupply their action there. But this idea that it's going to lead to a war with China is unnecessarily. The great support the President has for his program that he announced today, in my judgment, there was nothing else he could do. The North Vietnamese have shown no desire to go to a conference, and we do know of the trucks and the military personnel that have been going south, and it wouldn't have been fair to our men who are fighting in South Vietnam not to have attempted to interdict as much as possible the supply lines. Incidentally, I think it would have continued to give a wrong message to Hanoi. It would have begun to indicate to them that what the Chinese Reds are undoubtedly telling him, that the United States won't stand firm. We're up against maybe a long pull, but the problem is to convince Hanoi that they cannot take over South Vietnam by force. The President's objectives are limited to giving the people in South Vietnam a right to decide their own future and to prevent this takeover by force. And this is one of the situations which we face since the end of the war. All have been difficult. In some ways, this is the most difficult, and I'm very much reassured with the support the President has.
Sir, in view of your many travels and consultations with the various heads of states in the countries you have visited, do these countries, in your opinion, support today's decision by the President to resume bombing?
Well, I think it depends upon which country it is. I think it's fair to say that the people the world over have a much clearer understanding of what the objectives of the United States are. They have a clear understanding this is not a civil war, but is directed from North Vietnam. You know, all the eyes of everyone was turned to Hanoi, and that made it very clear that it was Hanoi that was directing this affair, and inspired it, established this so-called Liberation Committee. It's a front for them, and therefore they recognize that it's a conflict between the outward aggression of communism. Now, of course, the communist countries don't approve it, but as far as all of the free countries are concerned, I think it's fair to say that the President's action will be understood, even though some of them would have liked to have seen it extended somewhat longer.
Governor, do you feel that this may be the first in a series of moves, escalate the free pause period?
I don't want to get into any military details. You'll have to consider each step as it comes, what is the wise thing to do. But there may be some who wish to get this war escalated to war with Red China. I don't share that view, and I'm quite sure the President doesn't. And there's no reason for us to escalate the situation to that extent. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much.
You look loose, Brad.
In fact, together with the South Vietnamese government and people, programs of land reform, social reform, economic reform, education, that'll lead the people of that unfortunate country to believe that this war is worth fighting, that it's worth dying for, and that this is their effort, and that the United States' role is one of support for them as they try to meet this challenge.
Senator, would you have preferred a longer bombing pause?
Well, I think that decision now has been made, and what we have to do is look to the future. And as I say, I think far more important than even this debate or question over the bombing of North Vietnam is what our policies are in the South, the pacification program. I think that's where the best energy and the best talent in the United States government should be devoted at the present time, because no matter what battles we win, no matter how much ammunition is used, no matter how many bombs are dropped, if we can't get the people, convince the people that this is their war, this is worth fighting, and that they should enter this struggle, then nothing that we will do will be of any use.
Senator, some of your colleagues predict that we face a very grim future with rationing, universal conscription, doubling the troops in Vietnam. Do you see that grim a picture ahead?
Well, I'm not so concerned about what's going to happen here in the United States and the fact there might be rationing. I'm concerned about what's going to happen in Vietnam and the casualties that perhaps will occur there. I think the casualties will increase, and I think that there will be greater commitments of American soldiers without any doubt, and I think that the war will get larger. I think the question is, after all that is done, whether we are any further toward finding a successful answer or solution to the problems of Vietnam. In my judgment, we can do what we need to do in the military field, but unless there is a economic, social, and educational program and reform, and a program of reform that's put into effect in South Vietnam, no matter what we do in the military field will have no effect.
Senator, do you think that we've increased the risk of war with Chinese communists?
I think that what we have to be concerned about is that this might be a step in the direction in which there is no turning back. There's no question by this action that was taken today, we have moved down a certain road, and it's going to be more difficult to turn back from that road. But that step or that effort, under the circumstances, might be required. In any case, the President of the United States has determined that it was required. And now I think what we have to do is look ahead and what policies or programs are necessary now. And again, my judgment is that a military program by itself will not be successful in Vietnam, and I think we have to accept that. And I think even all of the emphasis at the present time on whether we should or should not bomb North Vietnam is taking our minds and focus off the real problem, which is in South Vietnam. What are we going to do there?
Senator, much of the opposition to President Johnson's decision here on Capitol Hill today went along these lines. Bombing does not constitute action toward peace. How would you evaluate the situation?
I think that we're going to have to, the military action is going to be required. I think as President Kennedy said in his inaugural, we have arms ready so that they're great defense, the greatest defense against having to use them. I think we need military action. It's going to be required. The aggression has been committed by North Vietnam and by the communists, and I think we have to meet that aggression. But if that's all we do, then our policy is not going to be successful.
Well, do you believe
Your
then?
implication, Senator, is that we have not done a very good job in these other areas so far.
I do not believe we have.
Senator, would you say the major hope for peace now lies in the United Nations?
Well, I think that's one area, but just one. And I think that as I say, there are two things. First, I think that the communists have to be convinced that we're going to remain in Vietnam. I don't think they're yet convinced of that fact. And secondly, we have to develop a program in the South which will make the people of that country, that part of Vietnam, believe that this is a struggle and an effort and a war worth fighting.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you,
All right.
Senator.
Thanks a lot, Senator.
Thank you.